Hey, hola, boa tarde. It's an afternoon one, just coming up to 5 o'clock for the Good Morning Portugal podcast with me, Carl Munson. And interesting thing has happened to me today. I have been wondering what to do with the Good Morning Portugal podcast to make it most useful. So very few people get in touch with any feedback, but so just very quickly to say that if you are a regular listener, or even if you just listen once and think, I know how that could be improved, do let me know. Carl@carlmunson.com. So without external feedback, I'm just evolving and improvising myself here. And we've gone from a 5-minute podcast to 1 minute and 2 minute. But the gist of it really is to share some Portuguese vocabulary and language, give you a sense of the adventure we're having as a family, and give you a bit of an insight into Portuguese culture. So the wonderful thing that happened this morning, Lottie got in touch with me. I think that's her nom de plume. She is somebody I interviewed for the Pure Portugal podcast. Her house was devastated over in Benfica, and she's had the most incredible story and year, culminating in the rebuilding of a beautiful schist house. Schist being the stone vernacular design of a particular part of Portugal, and it would appear that both Lottie and I love this particular area. It is the Pinhal Interior Norte of Portugal. Now, it's the interior, and this has joined up a lot of dots for me, and I'll tell you about some of those dots in a moment, but it's what people refer to as the interior. Now, for me, it's like the French Provence or Italian Tuscany, yet not as ruined, and arguably, I mean, ruined in a different sense, as in it's kind of run down and neglected because of globalization and everybody moving to the city. An incredible asset to Portugal and Europe as a beautiful demonstration of how life was, and indeed, in my view, could be in Portugal and across a lot of rural Europe. And if you've heard my other podcasts, you realise that I'm totally interested in rural regeneration in Portugal and want to be part of it. Now, it joins up the dots for me because I first came to Tabua, a place within this region, Pinhal Interior Norte, and that is your vocabulary today. Pinhal Interior Norte. Interior, obviously interior, Norte, meaning north, the northern part of the Centro region of Portugal. So you've got Norte and Sul. But Pinhal, what does that mean? It means pine wood, which is the original, not the original obviously, but an early and ancient forest type before the devastating effects of eucalyptus. So Pinhal, pine wood. And it's so romantic, isn't it? Now, the dots, starting with Tabua, where I first went in 2008, and then it includes, and also Oliveira do Hospital, which I've been to back in 2008 and more recently camping last year at a fantastic campsite run by some wonderful Dutch folks. But also it includes Arganil and Goish. Now, you may remember a podcast that I've done with Glenn Gatling, who in the village of Portela is trying to share a vision of Portuguese rural regeneration. That's over by Goish. Arganil is a beautiful town. Alvaiazara is a town not far from where I live now, which is an incredible place. And beyond that, another love affair of mine, I've reported on this a couple of times, 2 podcasts dedicated to Penella. And Tamar is in this region as well, my favourite town nearby. And then you've got Pedrogo Grande, which had a terrible devastation last year, but Pedrogo Grande, Pedrogo Pequeno, and you've also got Certa as well, which has the lovely Sunday market. Add to that Miranda de Corvo, Lusa, which is the biggest, I think it's the most, the biggest town, and Oliveira do Hospital is the most populated place, or vice versa. Okay, so don't quote me on that. But just to give you the gist of this amazing place, Anciao, where we recorded the Circus podcast, that's also in this region. So it beautifully ties up a lovely area of Portugal for me that, I'm realising that to be a fan and to be an ambassador for Portugal, as far as being an expat and a settler goes, the place is too big and too different across its whole enormity. But focusing in on a region is a good idea. And this, to me, is a God-given region. And I have to say I love Aveiro as well, which isn't in this region, but we're thinking of places to live. It may be Aveiro because that's where our net headquarters is up there, or it could be in a part of Pinhal Interior Norte because that's within striking distance of Aveiro. And I've got to say I love this region, and I'm delighted also to say that Lottie has given me a bit of a brief to find more beautiful places for a guide to this region. So you can see my podcast of all the lovely places I've already discovered it. A lot of the work's already been done. And I went to a fabulous place yesterday, the river beach, and then the viewing point up on the mountain. You see my video on Facebook yesterday of, I think it's Fragas do San Simão. Incredible place. Another understated, fantastic place here in rural Portugal. So, if you've got any intel, places within this region, if you know this region, let me know. Share with me what you'd like to share with me. I mean, the problem here, of course, is people want to keep their secrets, and I understand why. But we're not overrun yet, are we? And arguably, a little bit of influx of tourism and regeneration and investment could just give this whole area a bit of a lift, which, again, arguably is what it needs. I mean, we don't want it kind of a globalized nightmare or a dormitory town for people with second homes who live in other countries and all that sort of stuff, because it just doesn't, that's not sort of NIMBYism. It just doesn't work as a place for human settlement. So do let me know. Please share my passion, and I'll keep you updated as well. So Carl Monson signing off. Looks like 7 minutes this time. We're up and down and all over the place. Take care. Até breve. Ciao for now.